It's my pleasure to welcome Tracy to the classroom. She has shared the stage with Jane Fonda, Al Pacino, Mel Gibson, Mark Wahlberg, and more. She won the 2017 Robert W. Jackson Award, which is the founder of the Canadian Paralympics, and was a nominee in the 2017 Ontario Premier Awards and 2018 Women of Essence Global Award. As I mentioned, she just got inducted to the Canada Hall of Fame. She's seen on CBC, NBC, and Fox. The Oprah magazine featured her story as a raw beauty, and she became the Quest for Gold World Cup Olympic class sailor, climbed the Himalayan mountains, captained a 110-foot tall ship, and won a bronze medal for paraskiing. She's funny too. And did we mention that she's a 4-way amputee? So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Tracy.
Thank you. Thank you, Aline. So I took some York courses, very excited to be here on my way and on my journey to my master's ultimately. So best-selling author, which was incredible as part of who my business is. And business awards like the WOW Award with the Canadian Training and Development Society, the WOW Award of Entrepreneur of the Year and things like that out of 160 countries. John Maxwell is a leadership guru, and I was number 1 female out of these 160 countries around the world. And there were about 9,000 applicants, and there were 10 of us that made it to the top 10. I was the only female, and I made it to the top 4. So the only reason I justify female is because I was the number 1 female. And a man who was a famous football player, his first name's Randy, I wish I could remember his last name, he actually won first place. So in terms of business and accolades for business, which is kind of fun, and honored humanitarian and decorated athlete, as you heard. And I love skiing with my fabulous Aline. This is us. He probably shared this picture already, potentially, which is fun. And he's asked me to review a bit of my business, do some social media pages, share my past campaigns, my target audience, and my competition. And so, that's an overview of who I am. And I love to support peak performance by disarming limiting beliefs. I spell limiting with a B because I'm limitless. It's a terrible joke when I gotta spell it out. But the superstar secret is that you are limitless too. I was just lucky enough to be born this way to figure it out early. And so in my business, I support doing lots and lots of keynotes. I make most of my money on keynote stages the last 2 years. But I also do leadership development for Air Canada, Shoppers Drug Mart, Uber. So things like stress management, conflict resolution, dealing with angry customers, and those kinds of bits and pieces. So it's a very typical model. Lots of keynote speakers are big speakers, and they also facilitate courses, and they're also one-on-one coaches at an executive level. So that's very typical business model for speakers. They generally, most people in the speaking world, they speak and they get most of their income from what they sell, their workshops and their books and their leadership training. There's only about 1% of the keynote speaker world that actually earn their income from platform speaking, like Tony Robbins. So he is a platform speaker, and he has all these other great sales and things that he sells. So I'm in that 1% where I make most of my money as the keynote speaker, which is phenomenal and super proud. So in 2017, there it goes. In 2017, I got myself a high-performance coach. I got an expert, kind of like Aline, who knew the world. And I was making about $100 every now and then for the odd talk, mostly in schools. And in that year, I met that person at the end of January, much like right now, and they gave me some tips and tricks, and I multiplied my income in those 12 months by 5 times my income that very year. I made a dream that day, I imagined, and I put it out there, and it's not just about dreaming, it's about making it happen. I had a dream where I put it out there, oh my gosh, could you imagine if I made $1,000 on a stage? And that was my dream on January 27th of 2017, and by October 2017, I was being hired in Russia for $10,000, all expenses included. So you guys have significant impact in turning somebody's life around. I'm the same human being January 2017 as I was October 2017. It's just you guys set me up to look much more impressive by October 2017. One of his messages was also positive co-branding and who you align yourself with. And so getting, in October, I shared the stage with Jane Fonda at a top 10 event. So part of the social media consultation and conversation and coaching was get yourself on stages with stars, get yourself in media, and in 2018, lots more media. So in Russia, I was on the news. They invited me back. I came back a second year, 2017 and 2018. Been in Germany, been in Italy, I've been all around the world. I've been 40 plus countries around the world. I was in 20 countries in 2019, and I got 20 countries on the agenda for 2020 already. So I think it's going to be bigger. But media was another piece. And then it's not just, I know people that were on the media, but they forget to put it in their social media and dial it up and communicate it and the way you frame it and suggest it. And like Oprah Magazine was 2014 when I was sailing and doing World Cup regattas. But I never talked about it. I didn't tell anybody until 2018. And so that carried on into 2019. So in 2017, I made 5 times my income in those 12 months. In 2019, I doubled my income from the year before. And in 2019, I made an additional 100,000 on top of my 2018 year. So I doubled it in 2019. I what's that 5 times? 5 times it in 2017, and then another 100,000 this year, 2019, in my taxes. So you guys have a significant impact if somebody does it wonderful. But I haven't had a proper social media person. I just had a coach, a business coach. He said do media, he said do positive co-branding, and he said be better and busier on social. And that's kind of where I went. And so that's kind of my business rough pieces, and I'm open to questions and more specific business type questions. Hopefully that's appropriate. And my social media pages, the one thing I did learn in January 2017 was the importance of consistency. So I am Unstoppable Tracy, 2 P's, because unstoppable is so unstoppable, and no E in Tracy, no hands, no legs, and no E in Tracy. I don't need all those extra parts or letters. So I am Unstoppable Tracy on Instagram, Unstoppable Tracy on Pinterest, Unstoppable Tracy on Twitter, on Facebook, on my Google Plus channel. My website is Unstoppable Tracy. So if you do hashtag Unstoppable Tracy anywhere, LinkedIn, I'm Unstoppable Tracy. If you're getting a trend or a message, it's Unstoppable Tracy, and that consistency. And that's sort of, I think, why I stumbled accidentally through my social. Was just because I happened to get told, be consistent with Unstoppable Tracy, and I was lucky that I could get that domain, and nobody else was doing that. So everything on all my social media pages are Tumblr, I have Tumblr too, is Unstoppable Tracy. So I now have 15,500 likes on my Unstoppable Tracy, Unstoppable You page. It's mostly organic. It's most people just like me. And so when I start January 27th of 2017, when I decided to dial up who I was and try to make a living this way, I had 700 friends on one account. And I'm getting into the campaign bit a little bit, but he said write a book, an ebook, any book, whether you're good at it or bad at it, 90% of people don't read the book. And the people that do read the book, they only read the first 3 chapters. He said, so don't spend a lot of time on this book. Just spit out a book and only do a decent job editing the first 3 chapters, was what he told me. And he said, and it doesn't matter when your book is out, because once your book is out, you're old news. So that first year of 2017, what I did in February 1st was I took a picture that I had, and I wrote in the post, thinking of writing a book, what do you think, to my 700 friends, and I put my name on the cover. Actually, my first title draft was How to Laugh When You Haven't Got a Leg to stand on. I thought it was brilliant, but we ended up, it's not about me, it's about you. So we named the book Unstoppable You. And I put up this picture, just a random picture that was already in my desktop. It took me all of 3 seconds to pick the picture. It took me all of 3 minutes tops to post the post on February 1st. And I went from 700 friends to 5,000 friends by that October, pretty much right away, but I don't want to overestimate. So I feel like in a month I was at 5,000, but at least in 7 months I was at 5,000 friends. And all I did was share a picture of a book, and I hadn't even written a word. And that picture got shared to one of my 700 friends, and their friend was in Russia looking for a speaker. And that's how I got the speaker gig in Russia. So social media was very powerful in accidentally or purposely launching me with a book I hadn't written, with a picture that I pretended was a book cover. And I didn't even say I was going to write the book. I was just saying to my 700 friends, what do you think? I just wanted to put a feeler out of what the appetite would be. And it turned out to be a big appetite. And so I started to get into the past campaign already. That's a bit about the business, a bit about my pages, and now I've started to talk to you about that campaign. And so most of the media interviews and speaking requests came from that fake book cover, and then talking about the process of me writing the book. Oh, I've written chapter 1, or what do you think of this title, or what do you think of this book cover? I put like 12 book covers up and said, which one do you like best? And that's kind of what I did 2017. So 2017, my social media campaign was the writing of the book and talking about the book, and it kept getting me speaking gigs. People would reach out to me, and they'd comment on it, and it was growing and I eventually got a Unstoppable Tracy fan page together because the 5,000 was maxed out. So I started that, and I was advised to get a landing page that was just specific to the book to gather emails. The book, it's not about the book, it's like a business card. You all have access to a free downloadable copy, and at the moment I haven't even said Merry Christmas to that mailing list. They put in their name, and I send them a free PDF of the book and a 3-minute kindergarten story that you saw, and that's all I do. So there's people that I've not even communicated with since 2017 that are in that email list. But I know, but I'm so busy, like Aline will tell you, right? I was in Waterloo last night. I was in Halifax a few days before that. Today I was to an elementary school and a high school this morning. I'm here now in the afternoon, and I'm heading to Speaker Slam to be their words of wisdom, not one of their competitors because I'm a professional, but I'm opening up their Speaker Slam competition tonight on reinvention. And that's today. That's just today in the last 24 hours. So I know I need a big email list, and I know I'm supposed to be driving people there on my social media, and that's what was 2017. So my 2018 sort of next strategy was a tour. I'm like, okay, I've written the book, and it's slowing down. So then when I got a hired gig in Scotland, and so I reached out to people I knew all over Europe and said, I'm in Scotland. You think you can hook me up? And so I made it like it was a book tour, and it became one. It became a reality. I did a book tour through Europe and across Canada. And so that tour was my social media campaign intention, was just to say, look, I'm here, look, I'm there, and posted pictures of wherever I was. And I did event ads for the places I was, just to look bigger, better, and international. But honestly, when I was trying to grow my fan page, I was hoping that would organically grow my fan page. But what grew my fan page, and I don't know at this master's level, but it was the one-on-one. Like I'd reach out, like I know Allie's seen me, and now we're friends, and maybe I recognize Allie, and so I'm going to message him on Facebook and say, hey, Allie, it was so great to see you in Alim's class. Would you be so kind as to like my page? And so then Allie would like it. And you guys might know better, because hopefully you'll all like my page and help me grow by 25. But if it was a different kind of social media class, Allie might not think to, but Allie would be more than happy to like my page because we were starting to know each other, but he just doesn't think to like my page. So I end up just like one-on-one in messages. So I had a goal of like trying to do 100 a night. And I would do like an all-nighter if I had to, no matter how long my days were. I was really committed to one-on-one, trying to message people one-on-one. But I was doing a lot of hours with no sleep. And I'm kind of in that now again, where now I'm speaking so much, but and my social media is decreasing in its quality, and I'm seeing the increase decreasing. And so it's a bit scary. So what happened in 2019, I was at Speaker Slam in February because I met my coach in January 2017. He said, get on stage, free or not, just get out there, get everywhere, get visible, get some footage of yourself on stages. And then I could make like a scissor reel or use the footage in certain ways, which I haven't done, but I gathered the footage that day. And on December 25th of 2018, Goalcast shared my Speaker Slam video. Speaker Slam has a relationship with Goalcast. I think they're buddies. And in January, 9 million people shared my kindergarten story. And as of today, there's over 60 million viral views of that kindergarten story. It was a free stage. In fact, I paid to be on it to win the contest. You pay $100 to enter the contest, and the winner gets all the money that each of the speakers pay. And so I paid to be on that stage, and I had that video, and they shared it with Goalcast, and Goalcast had 60 million viral views. So that became my social media headache, nightmare, amazing, awesome opportunity. So I found what I wanted to do is I wanted it to go viral. I had no idea how viral it would go. So I spent my Christmas Eve, my New Year's Eve, just commenting and liking on every single human being that were like, wow, or said anything in the messages about the kindergarten video in January, because I didn't have any gigs. So I just spent all the time on the comments and liking and sharing. And even now I pay a girl 12 hours a week to just try to like on comments and post things and say where I am. But she's not an expert. She's a friend who's a single mom, and she needed some money. So I made up a reason to hire her in the hopes that she would grow. But she's so busy being a mom, she's not really social media. But she is liking and commenting for me, which is great. And the viral, every now and then, like cup of soup for the soul? Chicken Soup for the Soul shared my video. And then Ashton Kutcher has a website, A+, and he shared my video. And Power Positivity shared my video. So it just keeps going viral. So every time that happens, she just gets in there commenting saying, thanks so much, I'm so grateful, I'm overwhelmed. Please be sure to like my page, Unstoppable Tracy, because it doesn't, the problem with that, the 60 million viral views is brilliant, but it's on their site. It's not my YouTube channel. And they're getting paid probably $2,000 a month for the commercials, and I'm not seeing a penny. Even if I saw 1 penny from all those 60 million viral views, I'd be a millionaire. And so it's not coming to me, and they're not even very good at tagging Unstoppable Tracy when they share it or viral it. So it's great that it's out there, and it's kind of a vision. But my strategy on social was mostly commenting on that viral video on Facebook and those targeting one-on-one. And then the other issue with something like that video, which is a kindergarten story, it's great, but you know, you see that story and I'm a 4-way amputee and you're like, oh, she was told no, but how great she got in. But they don't know I am a transformational leader in 160 countries that busted up pilot strikes at Air Canada, merged Canadian Airlines and Air Canada, and supported the bankruptcy. They don't know that I helped when Shoppers Drug Mart had pharmaceutical reform, when the government stopped funding pharmaceuticals, essentially. And we were going to have red, and we did go in the red on our balance sheet, but we, as the facilitator, wasn't my brainchild, but I was the facilitator, and we drove up food, and we drove up beauty items, and we drove up baby items, right? And then we outperformed the stock market. Even though our pharmacy was in the red on our balance sheet, we outperformed the stock market in like a month. And then Uber was being told, no, they can't get into Canada. And I busted Uber into Canada, marching down to City Hall and being a consultant for them. Or sailing tall ships, or beating able-bodied men, 27 able-bodied men, all big and strong like the fella in the tan shirt in the second row. Big, massive, ridiculous muscles, 27 of them, and only 3 women. and powerful women, but I was one of those women, and everybody had their arms and their legs. And I was on that start line in that World Cup able-bodied regatta, Melbourne Olympic class regatta. So they don't know that. They just see a girl who was told no in kindergarten. So my audience is a pity party. It's people that feel sad for me. They want to bless me, and I'm proud to be blessed, I believe, but that's not paying my rent. And I certainly can't make a difference for others if I'm broke. And so 60 million viral views, I spent a lot of time on it, and I didn't get any speaking leads until August. And the whole 12 months that this 60 million viral views, I've got one lead out of it. But that one lead was an executive assistant, and she worked for a Fortune 500 company, Centene. They do health care for the 50 states. A state pays Centene to manage their health care. And I got 10 gigs for $10,000. So I got no money out of the 60 million viral views, but I got one lead, and it gave me $100,000, which gave me the $100,000 increase this year over last year's income, which is great. And they covered expenses and travel that wasn't included in the $100,000 contract. So that's all you need is one lead out of those 60 million viral views, but I only got one lead. And another lady, she got 9 million viral views, not 60 million viral views, and she got hundreds of speaking paid events all over North America. And she's more business savvy. So it's a bit tricky. So it's great I got 60 million viral views. It was my strategy, was just keeping up with the comments. But it's Goalcast gets the count, and the target audience isn't a match, except I did get one great one. And then this past year in summer 2018, on Wednesdays, I do We Can Wednesday. And I was told in January 2017, put something up every single day. And I wasn't getting there because I was too busy. And so a friend asked me to do her Weekend Wednesdays on her website, her Facebook page, Wealthy, Healthy, on Purpose, WHOP, WAP ourselves into action. So I do a Weekend Wednesday, and it makes me be accountable for something. So I post it on Facebook, and then I share it. Nobody else in her group shares it, but I share it to 50 groups. And I post it on my YouTube channel, and I post it on my Instagram channel, and I post it on my Twitter, and sometimes I post it on my LinkedIn. But that's my single mom friend that doesn't really know the world, and so she doesn't think much of LinkedIn. But I need somebody who really gets it. And she manually does it, manually 50 shares. So that's kind of my 2019 strategy, was Weekend Wednesdays and trying to share that, and then the organic. I'm here, I'm there, wherever I am. She made an ad for the school this morning, and she's made an ad for tonight's speaker slam. And so whenever she sees something in my calendar, she makes an ad and she shares it. And that's kind of my social media, Weekend Wednesday, and then telling the world where I am, and then I try to make a post. And so schools are very Twitter heavy, and you may wonder, why do schools? Because they don't have any money. It's because the postcards that I just gave you, I give every single kid in that school. And so hopefully they go home and tell their parents, and I might get a speaking gig. Twitter at least shares to other schools and shares to some businesses that are on Twitter. So my only strategy in social media on Twitter is encouraging the schools, hey, please take a picture. Please be sure to tag Unstoppable Tracy. And so I don't even share the Twitter posts. If I find it, I'll share what they posted, but mostly I ask them to share Unstoppable Tracy. So that's my whole Twitter, is just asking schools to share the photo when I visit them. And then that keeps me active in the world. And sometimes the odd business person takes my picture at an event and they post it on Twitter, and I try to share that. And awards, sometimes when I win awards. Like this year, the WOW Award, and they inducted into the Canada Hall of Fame, and there was a third one. I don't know, I'm not remembering. Oh, Women of Inspiration as well. The year before was 2018, 2019 was the Transformational John Maxwell Award. And then testimonials on LinkedIn and Facebook, and so trying to share testimonials is a strategy campaign, trying to ask people to do it, but they don't. I had a lot more luck when I had a really slow 2 weeks, and I started writing it for people and saying, hey, Will you share a testimonial? If so, here's an example of one you can choose from or edit, or please write your own. And they would just post the one I gave them. And that's pretty much the best LinkedIn testimonial traction I got. But the other massive success that I was trying to teach my single mom friend that works in my business and works on social every now and then when I do it is look at who's successful. So like for my speaking, you know, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, all these people, they had done a book, they had done a TEDx, and they were international. So I knew I had to get myself in 2017 a book, a TEDx, and I had to look international as soon as possible if I wanted to be a Tony Robbins one day. And so in social media, it was the same thing. When I'm sitting in an airport or if a flight cancels and I'm stuck for a long time, then I stalk Tony Robbins or Mel Robbins or Brian Tracy, other speakers that are doing well, my competition, and I copy them. Now, I don't copy. I don't say exactly what they said. But, you know, if they have ugly font, then I do ugly font. If they have big font covering a part of the face, then I do big font covering the face. If they have a certain kind of typeface, then I try to find a close typeface. Like, I mean, as exact as possible is copying what the successful people do. And I learned a couple years later that, you know, ugly gets better hits. That's why. If you look at my meetunstoppabletracy.com, not my unstoppabletracy.com, but my Meet Unstoppable Tracy, it's a pretty ugly landing page. But a very successful JT Fox, he's a millionaire, he's approaching being a billionaire, and he has the ugliest landing page. And his advice to all of us that were learning from him as a almost billionaire was, look at my Meet JT Fox and copy it. Make almost an exact replica with your info, your face. And don't, like, where it's red, where it's, and he said, and he told us to make it as, and he said that was his most successful page. And so there's something to it, but, you know, like where the button is or how big the button is or all those things. So one of my lessons is copy successful people, but my single mom friend is not catching that. I thought that would be a great training tool. Just please copy other people, but make it mine. So it's only when I do it, but when I do it, it works. But I only do it like once a month or once every other month. My other big lesson, same with the 60 million viral views, is when I do, like, people, obviously I support people with disabilities, right? Aleem volunteers at skiing for people with disabilities, and if any of you are skiers, we need more volunteers. But when I post about people with disabilities or at a fundraiser or at a gala or parasport, I get less requests. When I post, I'm in a big red gala gown by a professional photographer, or when I post a leadership award, or when I post business, like I was at Home Depot, and I was at Remax, and I was at insurance companies, and Moody's, and the bank, all these financial places, or HRPA, big HR professional conference, then I get calls within a week or two from professionals that want to pay me. But when I post people with disabilities, the calls stop, like completely stop. So I really have to watch the social media, and everybody wants me to share their not-for-profit cause, but unfortunately I'm not big enough yet where, like, if Oprah were to share that, or Ellen shares that, or, you know, it's great. But even they don't do it all the time. They do it in a I think there's a formula, maybe 10% of the time, I don't know. So I have to watch the person with disability co-branding, and that's what my coach said too. Said they don't want to pay you as a person with a disability, but I'm an award-winning leadership, transformational leader in 160 countries, and that's worth, or Canada Hall of Fame inductee right next to Brian Mulroney and Wayne Gretzky and some of our big folks. So that's where I get calls for paid gigs. Most of it's out of a really good post on a Facebook. And I track the biggest likes. I'm sorry the font changed when we switched computers. I track the biggest likes. And so when I said that about a person with disability, but when I do a scuba diving picture, a skiing picture, a swimming picture, a skydiving picture, Like when I do Me Athletic, I get a lot of likes. But I also got a lot of likes when I was like the Women of Inspiration, and I was on stage with the CEO from Prince Margaret Hospital. And I also got a lot of likes when Charlie Sheen was trying to kiss me. And but I also got a lot of comments like, make sure you wash your mouth out with hand sanitizer, and crazy things. So I found, and people, my sister especially, but people in my immediate world, like, oh, you're always so like, and I do it. And I was at the school even, and last night when I was in Waterloo, and there were these people, and they're the organizing committee, and they're trying to get likes. And I'm like, okay, thumbs up, or hands up, or peace sign, come on, let's be unstoppable. And this is my pose, right? Well, that's because this and these photos get a lot more than these photos, right? So I got to wacky it up, because that helps. And the positive, it might feel like, oh, who cares, you're with a celebrity, but you know what? The likes do, the people that are out there do. So I kind of need to make that happen. And so the biggest likes, sporty and athletic. So those are kind of the past campaigns, and I'm open to questions if that isn't exactly the right style of conversation. And who's my target audience and objective? So an interesting thing happened. I have another friend who's a nurse, and she wanted to help me because I was getting overwhelmed. You make your first 100,000, and it's one strategy. And I kind of survived with what I've been doing. But now that I'm past that, it's another strategy. And it's another strategy again when you're a millionaire. Like every time you go up, it needs to be a different way. And I haven't found I know how I got myself to 100,000, but I don't know how to not. I'm really afraid this year because I got one lead that gave me $100,000, right? That I'm really afraid now that I'm getting all this organic person with disability stuff, co-branding, which messed me up in the past. I'm afraid this peak, this wave I rode, 2017, 2018, 2019, is about to go down. And it's a real fear because I haven't got a lot of big paying gigs for January, February. But I do have a few in the future. But that doesn't equal even 100,000 for the first year. And so my friend Natasha, she said, here, let me help you with what happened with the 60 million viral views is a gazillion and one Facebook messages, Instagram messages, emails, like overwhelming abundance. So she was going to help me with the emails. And so on LinkedIn, I bought a course that taught her how to leverage LinkedIn. And I wasn't, I paid $450. She was supposed to do the lessons. And she did the lessons. And she made my target audience just like the Goldcast people. So she said, have you got naysayers in your life? Are there people underestimating you? Do people tell you you're too young to be an entrepreneur? Oh, you're still in school. What valuable input do you have? Right? Speaking to all of you. And parents and children and neighbors. Talk to the individual. But the individual doesn't hire me. That's not my target audience. My target audience is event planners, is event professionals, is HR that hires speakers for their HR corporate event. When I did a spreadsheet and I looked at every single person that's ever hired me at whatever price, they're almost always just like that one lady that saw the kindergarten video that hired me for the $100,000 contract. Almost all of them, I would say, are 50. They're always women. They're usually between 45 and 55. But basically, they're a 50-year-old woman that's an executive assistant to a CEO or a professional organizer with events, that kind of thing. So my target audience on LinkedIn was a big failure, that LinkedIn campaign, because she targeted the individual. And again, it's the wrong market. So what do event professionals want? They want to look good to their boss. So we're not talking about naysayers. We're talking about, I promise to make you look good. I understand that you're looking for something really unique, something never seen before. You don't just want inspiration. You're looking to drive people into action. And I don't want to be inspiration. I want to be inspiration into action, that after hearing my keynote, you will be 10 times bigger goals. Remember January 2017, I dreamt of $1,000. How small was that? Take whatever dream you've got right now and dial it times 10. I should have dreamt of $10,000 in January, not in October when it fell in my lap with the Russia gig, right? And then I believed it. So forevermore, after Russia, when people said, what are you charging? Say, well, I highly suspect you can't afford me, but I'm $10,000. But what's really cool is for every, like when I had $700, probably my biggest paid gig, 700 likes on my personal fan page, on my personal Facebook page, I got the most money I got was $700. Now I have 15,500 likes on my fan page. I have 5,000 friends in my Tracy Schmidt account, and I have 5,000 friends in my Unstoppable Tracy Schmidt account. So I have, and some of those, 2,000 of those overlap. And that's the other thing. How come those 5,000 friends that don't like my fan page? But only about 1,000 to 2,000 of them actually like my fan page. And I know that they'd be willing, but unless I do it one-on-one, they don't do it. But anyway, I've got about 25,000 people on Facebook. And now, when people call and say, what do you charge? I can very easily and confidently say, I'm a $25,000 speaker on large keynote stages. I understand in Canada here that I'm probably out of your budget. So don't worry about what I charge. You're near and dear to my heart in HR, or you're near and dear in my heart because IT's been big breakthroughs for me, or you're near and dear to my heart because you're the bank that gave me a scholarship when I went to business school. And whatever it is, I make up whatever reason it is that I'm near and dear to the heart, and that's who they are, and that I will compromise. So don't worry about the 25,000. You let me know what's your budget, and I'll make it work. And then they tell me whether it's 5,000 or 10,000, or no, it's okay. We have 25,000. That's what we were expecting. Ha, 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 right? And that's rare, but it's great. But so my Facebook likes, the reason I care so much about likes when I'm not seeing an exact parallel is for whatever reason, when I had 2,000 likes, I was making an average of $2,000 a gig. I now have 15,500 likes. I am now making an average of $15,500 on my speaking events. It could be pure coincidence. I don't think so. I feel like it's very related for me. And I have 35,000 people on my LinkedIn, just shy of 35,000 on my LinkedIn, and I'm not leveraging it. And so I know I'm supposed to grow it, but I need to. You guys got to save me from bankruptcy because my mom's not well, and I moved into a very expensive condominium, and I couldn't get a loan, couldn't get approved for a mortgage because I'm an entrepreneur and I don't have any consistency over the last 2 years, right? And before that, I was basically a broke athlete, right? I made very little money before that as an athlete in World Cup sailing. So I can't get a loan approved. So I'm paying very expensive rent in High Park because that's where my mom lives, and mom's not well, and I'm living in the building. And I'm lucky I had a good end of last year, and I can pay January and February, but if my March and April looks like my January and February, I'm screwed. I'm in a very expensive rent situation. I'm living way beyond my means. I'm living like the person that made all that money last year. And I got very excited with my big contract and bought a couch and bought a car and and made my place really nice and all those things. And I invested 50,000 of it with finance because I'm not making any and haven't for many years, haven't invested for, what's it called, like financial planning, like my retirement and things. So I'm like, okay, let's throw 50 right away into my retirement because I haven't been doing that as an athlete. So executive assistants, HR, women, events organizations. So naysayers, personal one-on-one is not my target audience. My audience are people that hire people to speak. But however, those women that are 50 do like that soft story, right? They do like that kindergarten story, but they need to know I'm business too. Okay, and so the last piece is competition. So my competition is speakers bureaus. So like I'm commanding great prices now, and they're charging out $5,000, $3,000, $2,000. I'm getting great prices. I don't know. And I'd be very happy to give them, National Speakers Bureau charges 33% for the referral. So if I got 15,000, they would get 5,000. But I wouldn't get the gig if it wasn't for them. But they have some girl with no arms and no legs, and her name's Tally Osborne, and she's cool. She's got no arms, no legs. She's got a pink mohawk. She's done nude centerfolds, and her things like Body's Beautiful and stuff without her arms and legs. And she's just a different brand. I think there's plenty of room for both of us. Right? She hasn't got her master's, she hasn't done corporate world, so I can speak to the athlete experience of how do you get gold, how do you get silver, right? How do you be high performance? What businesses want to propel forward, change is inevitable. I can speak to that corporate language as an MBA and in organizational development in my career of these big organizations, but I also have the four-way amputee shtick going for me, and I have the athlete shtick going for me. But they don't want me. National Speakers Bureau, Speaker Spotlight, they like me, and they shake my hand, but they're like, oh, we got Tally. We already got a girl with arms and no legs. And her social media says that she's yelling at police, and she's making front pages of the interest section of the newspaper because she's angry at police. Because some guy hit her when she was driving her three-wheel. She doesn't wear her legs. Her body's beautiful as it is without legs. For me, it's functional. It's not about beautiful or not beautiful, just easier for me than a wheelchair. But she got hit by a car, and I think she was drunk. And so the police were on her. And so she's all angry and vocal. But my social media is saying, I'm presenting to the Rotary Police. I'm presenting to the auxiliary firemen. I'm presenting to the emergency responders like the ambulance drivers, right? And I'm honoring them and thanking them and appreciating them for service. So she and I are like black and white. There is plenty of room for both of us. We don't need to be in competition. We can actually complement each other in many ways just because we have a different target audience. For sure. But they've got her because she's a four-way amputee, and Speaker Spotlight and National Speakers Bureau, and these Speakers Bureaus feel like, oh, we got our guy in the chair that did wheelchair basketball. We've got our person with a disability, and as you've heard, I'm so much more than that, right? I'm also an athlete. I'm also a humanitarian. I taught in Uganda, Mexico, Nepal, Jamaica, taught in over 20 countries in my 20s, doing these like 6-month contracts here or there. And inducted into Canada Hall of Fame, right? So I'm different. I'm not just another person with a disability. So I'm kind of ousted from the speakers bureaus. And then in the world of people with disabilities, my competition is other people with disabilities. There's a couple of guys with no arms and no legs that recently climbed Kilimanjaro, climbed some mountains, but they came with like 20 fellow guys, and they had all this fancy sponsorship and equipment, and I did it in 1999 all by myself with a bandana, and I was a woman, and I was one of the first. So if they want the climbing Himalayas shtick with no arms and no legs, and I fly airplanes and I jump out of airplanes, and on New Year's I was scuba diving 100 feet deep during the day, and did a night dive on New Year's Eve night in Bonaire off the coast of Venezuela. So if they want adventure, there's adventure, right? And if they want athlete, they got athlete. They want corporate, they've got corporate. They want award-winning leadership model, they got award-winning leadership model. So I'm lucky that I get to be a bunch of things, but I think that's what my mistake is. I think I complicate the brand too much for folks. So my competition is Speakers Bureau. My competition is other people with disabilities that have one message, even though they don't have other messages. They're inspiration. But I'm not inspiration. I'm inspiration into action. And then athletes, fellow athletes, when someone's looking for an Olympian or a Paralympian, they're my competitors as well. But a lot of these athletes don't have corporate experience. So I have a unique selling proposition in many ways.
So if you were going to list kind of 3 competitors to look at. The one you mentioned, sorry, her name was
Tally Osborne. Though I think
Tally
I know.
Osborne. Okay, so you guys want to jot this down? You kind of
Tally
if you're
Osborne.
going to be doing her brand for the final project, you want to look at Tally Osborne. Who are the other
Tally
two?
Osborne. Well, like speakers bureaus, like a national speakers bureau or
Okay,
a
so
speaker
National
spotlight.
Speakers Bureau or Speaker Spotlight. Those are the three, right? You would say
We
as your
could say.
primary competitors.
Yeah. Tally Osborne or Nick Vujicic. You know,
Okay.
like so people with disabilities like Tally Osborne or Nick Vujicic. Nick Vujicic makes $88,000 a stage.
Wow.
And
Okay.
his unique selling proposition is he doesn't wear his arms or legs. He tried to commit suicide at 9 years old, and he is very religious. So he's very evangelistic in his presentations. Nick Vujicic. So Tally, I'm doing better than Tally now, but she's Toronto, and she's got those speakers bureaus. Nick Vujicic is making more money, and so I'd like to. And I think there's room. He's a guy, and he's about mental wellness. I'm a woman, and I can be mental wellness, but I can also be many other things. Nick Vujicic, hard to spell. I'll
So
spell it.
what I'll do is we'll post the video recording so the students have it. I'll get your slides. We'll put the competitors
Those
in there
three
as
names,
well.
Nick and
Yeah.
Tally, and athletes like Mel Robinson or Stuart Knight.
Yeah.
I'll give
Okay.
you three names if you want three names or
Three.
just three headers.
Yeah, it's just easier for them to focus on three and then kind of
three
look at
names
best
or
practices.
three headers.
Uh,
I can give you both.
either one. Yeah.
Yep.
Because if it's too many, it's too hard for them
Yeah.
to focus. So I actually wanted to tell you a story. It's funny, you see this picture, and it's just a few weeks ago when there was it was pouring rain outside. If you guys remember that, it's a massive storm, and it was our first day of disabled skiing. The bus was pretty much empty, and Tracy's there, and I'm there, and everybody else is sitting in the lodge saying, "We're not going to go out. This is crazy weather."
Of the 10 that showed up, of the
Yeah.
40 or 50
And I look at
people.
Tracy, and Tracy's like, "Put a garbage bag on, let's go." And we were pretty much the only people out
Yeah.
for literally the whole day.
Like when you look ahead, the ski lift's
Like,
empty.
it was so
Behind
bad
the ski
that
lift's
the
empty.
ski lift-
Not the line, but the lifts.
The lifts actually shut down at 1 o'clock because nobody else was on the hill except for us.
And they apologized. They're like, "Oh, sorry, Trace, we can't run the lift just for you."
Yeah. And the most amazing thing was I'm just trying to show you personality that this woman is so strong. She was like, "It's too bad they shut down because I could have gone till 4 o'clock."
Yeah. The snow wasn't so bad. It was raining, but it wasn't
And so
bad.
it's just, it's perception on life and perception on thing that I've learned so much from you on being positive. And it's incredible. The stuff she's done, self-made woman, you go from starting a business and even the stuff in social media, how much she's learned from other people and being able to become so successful. I don't think success happens by accident. And she's a great example of that, of you learn from what happens and you build yourself up and you make bigger goals and you find ways to make it work. And no matter what your challenge is, and I don't even think physical disability is a challenge for you, but no matter what it is you have, you can overcome. And so I think it's a great opportunity for us if you're interested. So we have to split the class. Half of you will be doing Fuck Up Nights, and half of you will be doing her brand. And I don't know if I'll just split you guys into groups. And you guys already have your groups, so maybe we'll just assign half and half, just to be fair. But it's a great opportunity, honestly, to help someone like her build a brand and spread the message. And I don't know if you guys saw, I posted her TEDx talk, so the extended one. It's pretty amazing what she did with Uber. Like, to bring Uber to a city like Toronto and talk about how it facilitated things for people with disabilities, to speak in front of city council, to bring that forward. It's really amazing. So, honestly, I'll post the slides about ethnography. I think you guys can all read it and learn. I would much rather have you guys ask questions, and you have a great opportunity to pick a brain of someone who's overcome every barrier.
Netnography.
Netnography, yeah.
Netnography.
Yeah, it's basically online social media research.
Oh.
So the good thing is, by the time they finish this course, they're going to be experts on social media, and I'm pretty sure they'll be able to build a really good plan or brand plan for you.
Which I give back to the community. So I can't co-brand people with disabilities, but I can support people with disabilities.
And so what we'll do is in the last class, she'll actually come in and you guys will present to her and present strategies to her, so hopefully she can apply them and implement them. And if you want to bring Sarah in too, that'd be great. It'd be
Okay.
good for her to learn too.
Yeah.
Sarah's the one that works with her. She's also part of disabled skiing with us.
And she's an athlete, silver medalist in downhill skiing.
Yeah, another incredible person. So questions, please, Genevieve.
Just about the skiing, where do you
Oh,
guys ski?
Mansfield.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little hill, like an hour north of Toronto. I started doing it in high school, and I met Tracy probably like 5-6 years ago, I think.
I guess so now.
And we've been skiing together ever since.
What's the program?
Canadian Association of Canadian
Skiing.
Association of Adult Disabled Downhill Skiing. So CAADS.
And that's the national one.
No,
So
CADDS, sorry.
anywhere in Canada, CADS, CADS, you can volunteer at. But our program is ADS, ADDS, Adult Disabled Downhill Skiing in Mansfield. So if you want to volunteer where we're at Mansfield.
And it's every Saturday morning for 8 weeks, rain or shine.
You can be
Literally
a good
rain or
skier or a
shine.
not so good skier.
And there's different types of athletes. It's everything from, there's some athletes that have mental disabilities, some have physical disabilities. It's pretty incredible program.
And it's recreational, so some are learning.
Yeah. Ali, go ahead.
Allie.
You spoke about a kindergarten story. What is that?
So there was a 3-minute clip.
Did you guys see the video I posted or no? Okay, I'll post it again in case you haven't seen it. Go ahead. That's the video that went viral.
So it's viral. And because 90% of the room got it, I won't recap, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do a recap if you want. Just quickly, like a.
Okay,
30
so
second.
I'm jumping like in the middle of the story. There's this really cool lead up, but that's not in the video. But
Yeah.
you get
the
to the
TEDx
top.
has the whole thing.
And the principal said, "I'm sorry, you can't go to this school." And you can imagine as a 5-year-old, that just like busted up my heart. And so my mom, and people will say to you, no, or naysay you, or underestimate your abilities and your skill level. So you can do this too. My mom just said, friendly like, "How come?" And she didn't say why, because if you ask people why, they become defensive. So ask people in a friendly body language way, even if you're pissed. In a friendly body language way, just say, "How come?" And so the principal said there's only one teacher and there's 30 kids and there's no support workers in the 1970s when I was there. And so my mom, listening, she didn't say she can tie her shoelaces. She heard him say, "I'm worried about being stuck with her." Right? He said one teacher and 30 kids, no helpers. So she counter-offered, "Can we just try? And I'll spend the week looking for a school that can take Tracy." And so that he was willing to agree with. He said, "As long as she knows on Friday she's got to go." And mom's like, "Completely understand. If it doesn't work out, no problem." So she counter-offered, not stuck with me, right? Because she said, "How come?" I'll just frame it a little different for those that saw the story. So how come the only girl with no hands is the only girl in the class that's required to be able to tie her shoelaces? Because the principal got all excited and he ran outside at recess to try to find me. I never made it outside. And it means that I can't stay at that school. So the principal went inside to try to find my teacher so that he could explain to my mom, "How come?" And the teacher said, "Oh, Tracy has a little friend who couldn't tie her shoelaces." So Tracy gave her a hand. And see, my mom had told me, "Nobody left behind." And she meant me, don't leave yourself behind. And it turns out none of the 30 kids could tie their shoelaces. And so the reason I wasn't outside was because I was busy tying 30 shoelaces. So how come? How come the only girl with no hands? The principal wasn't being a jerk. One person in 4-way amputee, how is that one teacher supposed to help somebody with no arms and no legs all by herself? And 35-year-olds at washroom time, right? He wasn't being a jerk. But it turns out I could do those things. And it turns out you can do those things. So how you can flip a conversation when you're faced with naysayers, underestimators, is that you just say, "How come?" And you counteroffer their breakout point, their obstacle. You don't say, "Oh, I know how to do balance sheets. I know how to do social media." You just say, what's their concern? What's their breakout? Say, "How about I do it for a week and see if it's working out? And if not, we'll try it another way."
Any other questions? Yeah, Nadine?
you said that when you said the story, it was like a pity party or whatever. But in my opinion, would it be the worst thing in the world if you took that approach? Like, if you continued with that story, because I'm pretty sure everyone in the class full attention towards you. Like, that's something people want to hear, and that's why of all of the things you posted, that's the one that got.
The 60 million.
Yeah. So why don't you do more of that?
Well, so tonight, because 60 million got me that one contract, I really hummed and hawed. And so I've just, in the last week, Speaker Slam, who's a mutual friend, they want Aleem to speak as well, which is so great. So said, look, why don't you come and be words of wisdom and open up our night for our competition? And she said, and let's get you another viral video. And I did a video for them on skiing on a run called OMJ, oh my goodness, right? Is sort of the polite retweak of the name of the run in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. And they didn't share it. And I told them the story of living in my car for 3 months and washing boats for this gold Olympian named Magnus to be able to get him to coach me. And he just ignored me for 3 months, right? He didn't. But after 3 months of every day washing boats and living in my car and being on that dock every day at 5:30 a.m., he finally said, come on, let's go sailing. And I told them that story. And they didn't share it to go viral. So it's funny that you say that, like, why don't you? And if the people that are going to be lifelines and support me, they don't want it. They don't want the lifeline. They don't want the Magnus story living out of my car. They don't want the skiing on moguls into the trees 13 times before I get and figure out how to ski. On backwards ski boots. I put my thighs in men's ski boots backwards, right? Like these crazy solutions. So tonight I'm sharing a bullying story about when I was on my lawn. I grew up in affordable housing, and now I'm the girl that's on stage with Michael Douglas, right? Like, it's amazing. And so if I could do it, you could do it. And I shared the story about being on a front lawn, and there's a gravel driveway because of the affordable housing, and it's in Scarborough, and it's the kids on the other lawn. I want them to play on this lawn, but this bully says, ignore her, she's weird. Don't talk to her. And then my mom opens the door to check on me, and of course I'm crying. I'm not doing a very inspirational job of it, but that's sort of the facts. So tonight I'm going to share that story, but how I'm going to do it is I'm going to try. So I'm entering into, I'll tell you guys, it's Air Canada. I won't tell that on the air tonight, but I'm entering into Air Canada, and there's 12 people, 10 men in suits and 2 women in suits. And they're there, and they're all kind of angry and disgruntled because Air Canada is going bankrupt, and they don't want to merge with Canadian Airlines, and they're being forced to merge. So there are 12 angry people. And they're talking to each other. Air Canada's here, Canadian Airlines there, and my job is to bring them together for the Employee Assistance Committee. And then they look over, and I hear them mumbling, and they're like, oh, great. Today's going to be a waste of time. And when I heard that, I immediately flashbacked to this little girl crying on the blanket. And so I remembered, my mom said, how's that working for you? And she shut the door on me crying. And I was thinking my mom was pretty mean. And so then I realized my mom's not mean. And I realized I had every right to be crying and sad, but I also wasn't getting me anywhere. So I could be sad, or I could be sad and do something about it. And so I decided to do something about it. And so I had my legs off, so I rolled down the lawn on the grass, and there's all the gravel driveway, and I like to say that I borrowed the skateboard. And I jumped on this skateboard that was on the road, and I got the one long arm, and I skateboarded past the gravel driveway, and then I physically rolled up the lawn to the other side, and these kids were all like, oh, right, big wide-eyed saw. One because it's 4-way amputee rolling up the lawn, and then the other because this guy James, the bully, had said, don't talk to her. So it's kind of like this unsaid rule that I'm not supposed to go over there. And I knew in that second that I just had to break the ice, and I had to speak before James did. I had to set the tone. So I was petrified, I was scared, but I sat up tall and I made eye contact and I just said, "Hi, I'm Tracy. Can I play?" And then the bully says, "The new kid's always it." And I knew that I didn't know how I was going to play tag. No legs, they're all running around. How am I going to do this? But that wasn't the conversation that was going to win me any brownie points, right? And so in my head, I'm like, I just have to figure it out. So I just replied, "Okay." And for some miracle, none of the children ran into the gravel driveway or on the road or anywhere else. All of the kids stayed on the grassy hill. And so I was able to walk on my knees, my stumps, or roll around. So I could be tag, I could be it. And so flash back into this 12 union members that are super angry and saying these nasty things, not to my face, but I can hear it. So I put on my brave body language and I walked up to these 12 union members and I just said, "Hi, I'm Tracy. Shall we get started?" And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to business up my story. I'm trying to do, as you said, the kindergarten story gets people to want to hire me and want to listen, and they love it. And so I'm trying to frame the business example with this bullying story. So that's what I'm going to do tonight.
So there's one opportunity there. Maybe if they record that, because we have a class
Yes.
coming up on YouTube and viral videos. Maybe it's a great opportunity for us to like figure out a way to maybe build strategies around how can you make that go viral, or you know,
On
if you're
my
doing-
channel, not
or
on their channel.
on your channel.
Yeah.
Or if you guys are end up doing the project, maybe that's one of the things where here are the type of videos that may work better, and she's got a ton of content, so you can go through and figure out kind of the best practices. Sorry, we have to run because
Okay.
there's another class in here in 5 minutes.
Wow.
I'll run you over to your car.